that's the usual thing, isn't it? When a phone goes off or something. I usually have children running into the room, kids just sort of barge in and all sorts. So they're at school at the moment, thankfully.
Oh gosh, it's hard enough, isn't it, with like your buzzer going or the postman or something. But kids as well, or the dog barking. That's another one. Kids, they can't control them much.
I've had guests getting up from their seat saying, "Nashy, give me 2 minutes. I'm just going to get the door," and I'm just like, "Oh no, wait a minute!" It's all happened on this show, and I just keep it rolling. Start talking to myself to think this is a pretty relaxed show. So
okay, good.
Anything goes. Here, Happy New Year, and thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Thank you very much for having me, and Happy New Year to you too.
Thank you. And obviously we are here. I did reach out because of Doddie Aid. We are in the month of Doddie Aid. January, it's begun. There's stacks of miles getting covered across the country, across the globe at the moment. And have you been on the bike already with Sir Chris Hoy and all sorts of things going on?
Yes. Yeah, I have. I will be honest with you. I'm coming into this year's pretty undercooked. Probably, I would say the most unfit I've been in a while, because I really like to, look after myself and stay on top of my fitness and my miles on the bike and all that stuff. So I'm very aware that I'm very, very undercooked at the moment. So I basically had 2 weeks in the Middle East with F1 in December, which is, you can sort of do as much as you can, snatch kind of like 30, 40 minutes in the gym here and there, but not the way I'd normally obviously train if I had all day. And then I had laser eye surgery very randomly, which was a great success, but it meant that I had to have a week off exercise completely, which I kind of took as, prescribed rest, actually, sit up, feet up, not doing anything. And then I got COVID. So then I had a week inside, again, just being careful with the exercise. So yeah, the 50K on the 2nd of January was a pretty rude awakening, but I got it done. So I'm logging miles as best I can, yes. But the end of the year was amazing in many ways for me. So it is a happy, unfit place rather than otherwise.
I think there is thousands of people that's bodies have had a real shock in the last sort of 4 or 5 days. The Doddie, obviously the New Year's resolutions, January 1st for most people is that right, let's go for a jog. Doddie just amps it, just raises the level to people that maybe haven't done too much previously, that they start running, they start cycling, rowing, whatever you can do. You can paddleboard, you name it, as long as you're logging miles, you can add them all to your chosen district or your team. But no, you've had a bit of a run. I have obviously follow you on social media. We'll start with the negative, the COVID. How bad did you get it? Was it okay, or is it kind of just you had to sort of lay up and rest and see it out?
Yeah, I was incredibly lucky, and I think it's in those moments you do count your blessings a bit. I had it very, very mildly. It's the only time I've known that I've had COVID. And I'm tested quite a lot through work, so I think it would have come up at some other point if I had it. Luckily Omicron got me, but it was very mild. It was a 1 out of 10, and I think it was pretty inevitable with the way that it's sort of raging around at the moment. It was a 1 out of 10 bad cold. I was fine. If anything, that's more frustrating because you're sitting around going, well, I want to do things, it's kind of New Year and everyone's out and about in the pub and I'm sitting at home. That was the only gripe I had, really. Luckily, I was all good. It hasn't, I don't think, affected me too badly in terms of mileage and being able to get back on the bike. I just feel very unfit, but I don't think I can solely blame that on COVID. I'm going to, though. It's just COVID.
Yeah, you should. COVID's got so much to answer for. How many people were on that bike ride? Because obviously Sir Chris Hoy leading the way, it usually gets great numbers.
Oh, it was incredible. So I remember last year, we were really building up as we went through. And I think by the end of the month, we were like, let's try and get over 1,000. We had almost 1,300 signed up for the first ride. I was so excited. I checked 45 minutes before we got on to do another little push for it, and we had 750 signed up, and then it was like 1,300 when we got to the line. epic, so good. And it's nice because you can then find your own group and your own speed. So I was kind of planning, I'll do 30K and see how I feel and get off. And I had this really great little group around me, and we were all, talking away. And on Zwift, you can chat to people virtually and sort of try and text and not drop your phone and keep riding. And it kind of got me to the line. It just got me there. So it was fantastic. It was so, so good. There's such a brilliant way to get an hour and a half exercise, hour and a half for me, probably an hour for Sir Chris Hoy and Sir Jason Kenny, but an hour and a half on the bike in, but it feels like you've not done anything because there's constant chatter, listen to your music, Sunday morning. It was lovely. It was a great way to start the year.
It's a fantastic event, and the way people have sort of got together through Doddie Aid to sort of fight MND is incredible. But I also remember going back to a year ago, World in a Day. You were on that cycle as well, weren't you?
That's happening again, isn't it?
29th, I'll be there sitting right here trying to cheer everyone on throughout the day.
Yes, you did the live last year as well. I've got a horrible feeling I'm going to sign up for it again and try and do it. Was 100K, wasn't it? No, I've never done that far on a stationary bike.
240. It was 240 miles they covered in a day.
Sorry, for me, I did 100.
Yeah, sorry. Which is brilliant. Which is well done. Sorry, but I didn't want to cut anyone short that put in their personal best that they'll never ever beat.
No, I think it was like 400K, 500K if you were crazy. But I think I did it as part of the team. I think there were 4 of us. Can't try to remember now. So much has happened in the last 12 months that January last year seems like a different world. But yes, I sat on my bike for a good 3-4 hours then to do 100K as well. So that was epic, actually. That was really cool. It's just a brilliant way to get people together. And it's kind of an easy sell because everyone in January is doing those sort of things anyway and looking for that motivation. And to form habits, you've got to make them easy and attractive and enjoyable, right? And I think Doddie Aid is a really good way of doing that because you're giving to charity, you're raising awareness, you're part of this huge collective movement full of complete superstars. By the way, the caliber on the ride on Sunday was extraordinary. There were so many cycling and rugby heroes on that ride, and Louise Minchin as well, of course, broadcasting royalty. So yeah, it's epic. It's a great thing for people to get involved in.
It sure is. And you touched on something there about sort of the start of the year. What a lot of people, it puts people off that they think I've got to do long miles and run for hours. I ran 1 mile this morning. That is the time I had between my wife needing for her first appointment and my kids ready to go to school. And I know my mile marker from the house, half a mile back. I got it in. That's 1 mile for Doddie. So people, if you're listening to this, don't worry about distance. No one's going to check your distances and say, oh, you only did 10 over a month. That's 10 that person's better for and 10 that Doddie had benefited from. So what you said is just get started. Sign up, get the app, bring a friend with you, run a mile, run 10 if you can, walk 5, doesn't matter. Then Mark Beaumont will rock up and do 240 in a day.
I know. Oh dear, exactly. No, and that's the thing, I'm coming into this not as fit as last year. If I get the same amount of mileage, that's great. But ultimately for me, it's also about just feeling a bit more like myself and getting a bit more, back in tune with my training and my body physically. And that could very much be me just jumping on and doing 10K rather than doing 30K, whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's all relative. Just get on, crack on, do what you can. And as you said, it will only benefit both yourself and, of course, Doddie Aid as well. Yeah,
and a reminder to folks that at the moment, put your miles in manually on the app. Did you see that someone, is it the Barbarians?
It's my clan. It's my team, with the likes of Gabby Logan and Jim Hamilton. Yeah, we've got sort of something like 900 million. Yeah,
someone has been getting after it and just constantly putting in millions and millions of miles.
It's me. It's all me. I'm cheating the system. No, I promise I'm not. I've put in my sort of 60 miles or whatever I've done so far this year. So
log miles manually, everyone who's listening, log them manually at the moment until Captain Rob Wainwright gives us the all clear to let it track you like Strava. It's all fun and games. But you say there about the F1 at the end of the year. That was a heck of a time. That was came to quite a big ending. How was that whole experience being involved in it with Verstappen and Lewis Hamilton and everything that went on?
I said it at the time in Abu Dhabi and in Saudi, to be honest. I think being involved in F1 is a huge privilege as it is, because it's such an extraordinary sport. It is this huge traveling circus. It is the greatest show in sport. It's just extraordinary. But then for my first proper season on the road, out there working, to be this season, last season, the season that was 2021, Lewis Hamilton versus Max Verstappen, one of the greatest, if not the greatest title fight, level on points going into the final race for the first time in decades. It was just such a privilege and an honor to be there and to be part of it, and so blooming exciting as well. It really felt on that day in Abu Dhabi, race day, it really felt like you were at the center of the sporting universe, that every single person who likes sport, or actually even those who didn't, I think it transcended sport, didn't it? It became this global event rather than just another sporting event. Yeah. And it felt like you were just in the center of the universe, and all of the eyes of the world were on Abu Dhabi that day. It's a lot of pressure, but it was incredible. Yeah. Oh God, what a crazy time.
What was the reactions like when you were near the pit lanes, when you were right there in the action? Was there mayhem? Was there people just, what has happened? How's this going to unfold? Is he going to contest the result? What was the sort of vibe?
Oh, mayhem. Yeah, mayhem is the way to do it. I was getting reaction for F1 TV for the post-race show. So I'd gone towards Red Bull, me and every single broadcaster there, because Mercedes we couldn't see anything of at that point, because obviously they were then filing their protests, for which they had every right to do. And so we were sort of camped outside Red Bull. I think I got an interview with Adrian Newey. We were trying to get Christian Horner. He then disappeared very suddenly. At this point, we're running down the paddock trying to get an interview with, of all people, Steven Seagal.
Oh, yes.
Yes, because you're obviously around the whole sort of sporting furore. You've also got mega superstar celebrities there as well. Yeah. Bradley Cooper had been there. I'm trying to think who else. Emma Raducanu was due to be there, but she also got COVID. Crazy names were there. So we were like running down trying to get Steven Seagal, and then my colleague went, "Stop! Mercedes have filed a protest." So we were like, "What?" And so we then leg it back up the paddock towards them. At this point, Red Bull are playing "We Are the Champions" from their garage, and we're going, "I'm not sure. Like we don't know what's going to happen." It was complete chaos, but just, I mean, fun to kind of be a part of that atmosphere. I think the way that it did go down obviously has left a sour taste in the mouth for many. I think F1 fans generally, but also either side of the camp. You don't want to win it that way, and you don't want to lose it that way. And I think they gave us the most extraordinary season with the most incredible battles on the track. And I think everyone wanted to see it won over the line, fair and square, unanimously, which we didn't quite get. But it is what it is, and it was extraordinary drama.
Yeah, controversy. Yeah, absolutely. But I think myself definitely, and the listeners will want to know, what were you going to ask Steven Seagal?
I don't even know at this point.
All that mayhem and like the 90s ninjas walking away from you. You're trying to chase him down.
At this point, I don't actually know what was going through my mind. I think it was a case of, I was probably going to ask him the generic, what an incredible race. What do you think about being here? And what did you make of the race? And all of that kind of usual stuff. It probably wouldn't have been that interesting, to be honest.
not like, who would win in a fight, you or Chuck Norris? That's the kind of level, that's the kind of thing he's at. That sort of vintage of Chuck Norris and Van Damme. Oh, wow. What about other celebrities?
Working that quickly at that point. I think it was in sort of paralysis.
That's just me going back to my boyhood of the action movies and all the heroes. What who else has sort of had any starstruck moments in the paddock or the pit lane or around F1 that you've thought, oh wow, I'm going to get a conversation here?
Gosh, starstruck, not so much, because you've just got to take everything. You're there to do your job, and it is to ask questions. You just do that. Stormzy was there in Abu Dhabi. Patrice Evra was there as well. I've just remembered. It's pretty cool, like walking past both of them. The moment in the US Grand Prix, that was where there was a bit of a turning point in the season where they let people back into the paddock. Before that had been quite COVID lockdown, and then suddenly photographers were allowed back in. VIPs, celebrities were all allowed back in, so it was suddenly much busier. And Megan Thee Stallion came through the paddock, with the biggest entourage, the biggest people in her, the biggest entourage I've ever seen, enormous security guards. And that was probably one of the most surreal moments. I was doing a kind of like live hit down the paddock, trying to walk. And I had the drivers like darting around me, and then Megan Thee Stallion's entourage walking down. The crowd above are screaming, Cardi B, Cardi B. And I'm like, what is going on? This is nuts. And then the same on the grid. She was also there on the grid as a famous moment where Martin Brundle from Sky asked for an interview, and he was told, you can't do that. And that's sort of gone down quite badly amongst it's a brilliant clip if you've seen it online. He sort of says, well, I can because I did, and it's just iconic line from Martin Brundle. But no, I think that was one of those crazy moments where you think, where on earth am I and how have I ended up on the grid at what was actually then became the biggest Grand Prix in history, surrounded by, so I think Serena Williams was there, George Lucas was there, whisper his name, Lance Armstrong was there, Megan Thee Stallion was there, sort of like straddling Max's car, just completely ridiculous joyfulness. That was one of the moments where I thought, I've never experienced anything like that. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, and then so standing there on that grid, when you look back to the journey you've been on to get there, what was the call like, or what happened that you realized you were going to go on tour with F1 and do the season? And prior to that, your sort of journey to that day?
Oh gosh, okay, well, it depends how far back we want to go. I've always loved sport as a kid. I grew up swimming competitively and then rowing competitively, and sport was always on, be it rugby, Olympics, football, swimming, whatever it was. Our house was full of it. Wimbledon, tennis, everything. We just lived and breathed sport, basically. And so it became a huge part of my life. I also did English and drama at school. So I guess in a way I found a career that combined all three of those things: talking, performing, and sport. And gradually over time got to a point where I was broadcasting. And initially I went into sports communications, working for a federation. Then I went into sports journalism, working on a local newspaper back here in my home county of Gloucestershire. And that was great. And that taught me a lot. I did a lot of rugby there, a lot of sort of grassroots stuff, like National 3 was the highest league, National 2 and National 3 and National 1. Bit of Gloucester, bit of England Saxons. So that was great fun. That was really good. And from there, I decided to go freelance and become a presenter. And I don't know how I thought I was going to do that. But somehow, little by little, the sort of snowball keeps rolling and it gets bigger and bigger. And then in 2019, I got the chance to move into the world of motorsport, which was something I hadn't ever planned or ever, really dreamed of as a kid. I'm sorry to say, but once you're in it, God, you don't want to let it go. It's just the most incredible atmosphere and the most wonderful, welcoming family I found as well. I did a few rounds of the World Rallycross Championships, and indeed on my very first one, Chris Hoy was randomly driving. He was racing in the Rallycross Championship, which was bizarre. Just, when you think, hang on, I've just sort of like come out of the world of cycling and now you're here and I don't know how this has happened and why am I here? And it was all crazy and surreal. And then from there, I got a call to go into F1 and did a Grand Prix in 2019. 2020, mostly work from home. And then, this has been the season where I've been out on the road. I guess just sort of as the season went on, more and more opportunities came my way. Things opened up, of course. I say post-COVID, we're really not post-COVID, are we? But as sport worked out a way to be around COVID, I got a chance to head out to races. I did 12 last season. I'm still in 2021. Did 12 last year, which was amazing. Yep.
And obviously, was it 2020 or did you have a podcast before, but you started doing some interviews and Instagram lives? How did you enjoy all that sort of working from home when you're not out in the action?
Yeah, that was lockdown. That was 2020. I think for kind of 3 weeks, I sort of sat on my sofa and cried and grieved all the work I'd lost and the opportunity I'd lost and all the things, that were happening in the world, and really worried about where my income was going to come from and kind of, this sounds really deep, but who I was if I wasn't working. Because I think as a freelancer, you throw yourself so much into work and traveling away with my work in the nature that I do, and being at sports events and being a presenter, that you almost lose sight of your own identity when it's all taken away. And I really had to sort of think and work around that in my head. So I spent 2 or 3 weeks stropping about drinking wine. And then I thought, no, you need to do something proactive here, because this isn't going to make you money, and this isn't going to help at least your mental state. So I started doing an Instagram live series, which I loved. And again, I incorporated wine. It was called A Glass of Wine With. And basically it was very similar to what we're doing right now, except on Instagram Live, just having a chat with somebody and asking my followers to send in questions. And it was so fun. And we each had a glass of wine, had a chat. And honestly, it really brightened up lockdown for me. Those first kind of like 6 weeks where everything was so crazy and so scary and so sad, that really was very uplifting for me. And then from that, I realized, well, hang on, why don't you do, me and everybody else, I think, started a podcast in 2020, but I did a podcast called Lessons Learned, and did a series in the summer, autumn of 2020, and then a series in January, February of this year as well, which basically was incredible, generous, wonderful sports people from an array of sports talking to me about the lessons they have learned throughout their career. So kind of realizing that the sort of hardest lessons in life, or the hardest things that we experience in life actually teach us the best lessons, and that the best version of yourself will come from the worst journey that you go on, and sort of looking at, I suppose, in a way, how failure shapes you.
Yeah, absolutely. Is that something you can return to? I suppose you can sort of put the microphone on any time and take it where you want to go.
Yeah, exactly. I honestly didn't have a second to breathe in 2021, which I was incredibly grateful for. But for sure, I mean, if I'd been proactive, I might have planned to do something in this, the quieter period that normally is January, February for me, but I didn't. But no, absolutely. I'm always sort of on the lookout in case a bonus episode pops up or anything like that, because it's lovely. It's fun. It's nice to create something yourself as well. And that was a real joy for me in what was obviously a very uncertain time at the start of lockdown. And then we went to a second lockdown in January last year that lasted actually until about May, didn't it? We almost spent half the year in lockdown last year. And both of those projects really helped me just center myself again. And I think creating something and pouring a lot of energy into that is a really good coping mechanism for me, certainly.
Absolutely. And away from work, if there was a sporting event in the world, anything you could choose, where would you go if you weren't working?
I'm not working. Oh my gosh, I'm not working.
And you were allowed to go any sport, and you thought, I've not been to that yet, or that's my favorite sport, I want to go to that event. What would you do?
Yeah. Do you know, is it all expenses paid and VIP?
Both. Give me both.
Okay. Well, I think for both, it would probably be, but I'd love to be working. This is my issue. I can't watch sport. I'm always like, oh, I wonder who I can talk to see if I can find a way to work here. But Rugby World Cup would be pretty special, wouldn't it? Yeah. Can you imagine? All expenses paid, VIP, every single match you want for the Rugby World Cup. Ooh, that would be pretty special. And even if I had to pay, a bit of money myself, I'd probably still do that.
Yeah, but the good thing about your job is if you got that gig, you're pitch side and you're actually interacting. VIP, you might not get that close to the players. You might get a nice suite with nice food and drink, but you'd be pitch side. Did I pick up something when I was sort of looking through sort of back catalogue of your stuff? You're a bit of a fan of Johnny Wilkinson in the day?
Oh my God, what have you found? Have you found my posters from when I was 14?
No, I think you were on an interview and I was just going through clips and things. But obviously rugby and Doddie just sort of try to bring it all together. It's so some epic players over the years, even the people that get involved with Doddie Aid. I had Sean Fitzpatrick on last week and things like that with more to come. So it's so good to see so many legends coming out of wherever they're hiding to support Doddie.
Yeah, I'm embarrassed now because no, that is genuinely. So I did my first international match last November for the Autumn Internationals for Prime, and I think that's something that that was a real bucket list dream come true moment. And actually this year I was also at France New Zealand, which again was just extraordinary.
What a game.
Oh my goodness me, historic, just incredible.
You're maybe the lucky charm that gets all these big events and big results, from the Formula One to France beating New Zealand.
Yeah, we'll keep saying that. My friend in F1 thinks I'm the curse of Formula One, because sort of ridiculous, dramatic, crazy, never before happened events seem to happen when I'm at races. So he's like, don't come. Thanks, mate. No, but Johnny Wilkinson, yes, for the girl who fell in love with Johnny Wilkinson, that international was a pretty special moment to be at. And rugby, I fell in love with rugby. All right, Johnny Wilkinson and rugby at the age of sort of 11, 12. And then England went and won the World Cup. And that for me, I think we won the Six Nations and then the World Cup. And that for me was just cemented it. I was like, oh, this is the best sport in the world. And to this day, people are saying, what do you enjoy doing when you're not working? And it's going to a pub and watching rugby. Just going to a pub, sticking on rugby, sticking on the Six Nations, like Super Saturday Six Nations. Nothing better. Just sit in the pub all day and watch it. Amazing.
Yeah, good days. There's chat in the press at the moment that they might try and play all the Six Nations games in one country. So let's just hope that at the very least we get the games, because it looks like there's going to be no fans. That's a bit of a blow.
Yeah, that is a huge blow, isn't it? So, especially at the moment that's the case in Wales and Scotland, isn't it? That it's very limited numbers.
Yeah.
You do wonder how it's all going to go ahead, because, and certainly the rounds of Europe I'm working as well at the end of January. Oh, I really hope it does go ahead. But I mean, as things stand at the moment, obviously it's a little bit, the numbers don't look good, shall we say. I really hope we do obviously get the matches, but equally that we do have some fans in. I remember even when 2000 kind of came back for the Europeans at the in January last year or December last year, even 2000 in made a difference compared to none. So fingers crossed.
Absolutely. I've been to the Dam Health Stadium at Edinburgh quite a few times since it's been full with occupancy back, and it's been fantastic. And you can just tell the players, even the travelling supporters, everyone that makes the game, it's just so crucial. So fingers crossed, especially for the Scotland-Wales game when Doddie Aid comes to an end, to have a packed stadium there when Rob Wainwright and Mark Beaumont and the guys cycle in. It'll be just an epic event, and it'll obviously be huge online and social if there is no fans, but if there's a full stadium there, that would just be fantastic.
Oh, so good. I know. Okay, fingers crossed. We'll see. It's a month away, over a month away.
Absolutely. But Laura, I'm not going to keep you any longer. This has been a great catch up. It's all for Doddie Aid. It's for the Barbarians team, which you're part of. Will we see you on the 29th, World in a Day? You'll be there. I'll give you
I'll be there. Yeah. Go on then. I think I am free. I'll be there. I will. I'll try and do 100K again this year. We'll see how training goes this month. Awesome. Did I mention that I'm unfit? Put my excuses in early. No, you'll see me there for sure. Thank you so much for having me. Pleasure to chat.
No problem. Catch you soon.
Cheers. Thank you.